Good evening, everyone. I was waiting for that. You've been expecting probably to see someone else introduce the concert tonight, but turns out that that person is the person playing tonight, and I felt like it would be unfair to have her introduce herself. So I'm Pastor Tim Westermeyer. I'm the senior pastor here at St. Philip the Deacon. Thank you all for coming to the final concert in our summer organ series, which indeed has been curated by Celina Kobetitsch, who is performing this evening. Celina joined us on the staff of St. Philip the Deacon almost a year ago exactly, I think. I think one of the very first public things she did actually was conclude last summer's organ recital concert or series. So here she is now a year later, having curated that whole series and now finishing it up again. As you read in your bio, she grew up in Chicago, so she has that in common with me, as it happens. Went to Oberlin. She has won all kinds of awards and done all kinds of studies, both here in the States and in Europe. She has served churches in Ohio, in Arkansas, and most recently, as I say, she joined our staff a year ago. She has brought with her an incredible creativity, not only on the organ bench and the piano bench, by the way, but as a part of our very wonderful staff, always bringing with her new ideas that challenge us and help us to minister even better than we already have for so long. So we are thrilled to have her with us and delighted to have you here tonight. Will you help me welcome Celina Kobetitsch?
Thank you all so much. Today's program will feature organ music based on psalmody. We'll be projecting the psalm text actually on the screen if you're wondering why that's there. So I want to preface this with explaining what is the Book of Psalms. The Book of Psalms is often called the ancient hymnal of God's people, a collection of poetry, songs, and prayers written by the ancient Israelites. Because of their imagery and poetry, many composers have found the Psalms to be a great basis for musical composition. The Psalms touch on every extreme of human emotion, whether that be joy, fear, anger, despair, grief, thankfulness, or lamentation. And those are emotions that we too can portray through music. So each psalm in the Bible can more or less be fit into two larger categories, a psalm of praise or a psalm of lament. The program that I'm about to play will begin with Peter Herford's suite, Laudate Dominum. The word Laudate Dominum is Latin for praise the Lord. Rightfully so, each of the 6 short pieces in this suite are inspired by an excerpt from a psalm of praise. Each of these pieces is like a photograph or a character sketch, focusing on one specific idea. After I share Peter Herford's Laudate Dominum, the music later in this program will take a bit of a different course as we move into the Psalms of Lament. These psalms may make you feel a little more confused or even uncomfortable. Bringing in themes like vengeance or thirst for justice, I find that to understand these psalms, I must put myself in the shoes of the ancient Israelites who wrote them. Pastor Mark gave a great sermon this past Sunday about what it means to pray, which you should listen to if you haven't yet. And I think the Psalms themselves are also, on some level, a model of the conversations and prayers between God's people and God himself. These writers bring to God even the most uncomfortable emotions and desires of their hearts. So, to sum that all up, most importantly, I believe the Psalms teach us to neither ignore our pain nor let it determine the meaning of our lives. Even the darkest Psalms look to God as a Savior who will fulfill his promises of peace and justice. So, my goal of this program is not only to share beautiful music with you, but for this music to bring life to text on the page in a way you may have not seen it before, and vice versa, for the text to bring the music to life, to show you the story behind the sounds that you're hearing. So please enjoy Peter Herford's Laudate Dominum.
The Lord is King. He is robed in majesty. The Lord is robed. He is girded with strength. He has established the world. It shall never be moved. Your throne is established from of old. You are from everlasting. Make a joyful noise to the Lord, all the earth. Serve the Lord with gladness. Come into his presence with singing. As a deer longs for flowing streams, so my soul longs for you, O Lord. Let Israel be glad in its Maker. Let the children of Zion rejoice in their King. Let them praise his name with dancing, making melody to him with tambourine and lyre. Happy is everyone who fears the Lord, who walks in his ways. You shall eat the fruit of the labor of your hands. You shall be happy, and it shall go well with you. Your wife will be like a fruitful vine within your house. Your children will be like olive shoots around your table. Thus shall the man be blessed who fears the Lord. Let God rise up. Let his enemies be scattered. Let those who hate him flee before him. As smoke is driven away, so drive them away. As wax melts before the fire, let the wicked perish before God. But let the righteous be joyful. Let them exult before God. Let them be jubilant with joy.
Thank you. The next piece on this program is a chorale prelude by J.S. Bach. A chorale prelude, for those of you who don't know, is essentially a hymn arrangement, sometimes played as a prelude to a hymn. If you came to the hymn festival last week, you would have heard some beautiful chorale preludes performed by David Sherwin before the hymns that he played. Bach wrote many chorale preludes. Some could even be 8 minutes long or so. Yeah. The hymn that this one is based on is actually in our hymnal, if you're curious, hymn 340, but you don't have to look it up. It's called An Wasserfluss in Babylon, although the one that we have in our hymnal is very much adapted from the original German chorale. The original is very long, so I won't play it for you, but you'll hear this arrangement of it very shortly. And the German version of this hymn uses the text of Psalm 137, which you will hear read in a moment. When Bach was composing this piece, you could clearly hear that he had this text in mind. This psalm was written shortly after the people of Judah were taken captive in Babylon. So listen for the weeping in the music. The Judeans are crying over the death of their loved ones, the loss of what they had owned, and the destruction of Jerusalem. It is a piece of deep longing for their homeland, of grief for all that has been taken from them, and it is a plea to God to fulfill the promise of justice and save them from their exile. One more note about this piece that Bach wrote is that he composed two versions. The version that I'll be playing today is one where there are 5 voices going on at once, and 2 of those voices are actually played in the pedal part, which is quite abnormal for the organ and just means that my feet will be extra busy. So.
The 137th Psalm. By the rivers of Babylon, there we sat down and there we wept when we remembered Zion. On the willows there we hung our harps, for there our captors asked us for songs, and our tormentors asked for mirth, saying, "Sing us one of the songs of Zion." How could we sing the Lord's song in a foreign land? If I forget you, O Jerusalem, let my right hand wither. Let my tongue cling to the roof of my mouth if I do not remember you, if I do not set Jerusalem above my highest joy. Remember, O Lord, against the Edomites, the day of Jerusalem's fall, how they said, tear it down, down to its foundations. O daughter Babylon, you devastator. Happy shall they be who pay you back what you have done to us. Happy shall they be who take your little ones and dash them against the rock.
So you probably heard the crying within the music, hopefully. So the last work on this program, which will be a 20-minute long work, so stay in your seats. If you need a bathroom break now's the time to go do it. So Julius Roybke, the composer of this piece, was only 24 when he died, but somehow he still managed to compose one of the greatest masterpieces of organ repertoire within his short lifetime, and 20 minutes long, too. What sets this sonata apart from other pieces on this program is that it intends to tell a dynamic story. The suite that you heard at the beginning of this program was like a series of static portraits, right? Like photographs of that psalm text that you saw up there. But this work is more like a dramatic movie that is constantly introducing something new throughout. This was really quite a novel concept in Roybke's time. Ever since Bach's death in 1750 and all the way into the second half of the 19th century, the organ was becoming less and less of an important instrument to write for, after centuries of it being very prominent in instrumental repertoire. Most composers in the 19th century were writing for piano and orchestra, and they were much less interested by this church instrument here. But composers like Roybke and Liszt, they wanted to bring organ music back to the level of what, piano composers were composing. And so what they began writing was actually way too hard for any of the organists at the time to play. So they ran into this issue of, okay, we have no one to play our music, and there's, so if you've ever gone and seen a Wagner opera, or you've heard Debussy's La Mer, Mussorgsky's Pictures at an Exhibition, then you know what program music is. That's music that tells a story, or that is linked to, either a visual or a poem or something where you can enjoy the music by itself, but it's better enjoyed when you know what's behind it. And this piece is just like that. During the second half of the 19th century, this was kind of the trend for a lot of composers, was to write music that related to a picture or a poem or something. And Roybke is one of the first composers who did this for the organ. So this work, it follows very closely Psalm 94, which you will see is not a light psalm. So that joy we had at the beginning of the program, all that praise and joy, we're kind of taking a different turn here with vengeance and justice. And if you have any theological questions, I encourage you to go talk to one of our 4 pastors. This is also a very complex piece. If you want to know just how complex it is, I've set 125 different combinations of sounds for this piece, and throughout the piece, I will be hitting buttons between playing notes to change these 125 different sounds. For now, please enjoy the music, and we will listen to Psalm 94 read by Pastor Tim Westermeyer.
The 94th Psalm. O Lord, you God of vengeance, shine forth. Rise up, O Judge of the earth, give to the proud what they deserve. O Lord, how long shall the wicked exult? They pour out their arrogant words, all the evildoers boast. They crush your people, O Lord, and afflict your heritage. They kill the widow and the stranger, they murder the orphan, and they say, the Lord does not see, the God of Jacob does not perceive. Understand, O dullest of the people, fools, when will you be wise? He who planted the ear, does he not hear? He who formed the eye, does he not see? He who disciplines the nations, he who teaches knowledge to humankind, does he not chastise? The Lord knows our thoughts, that they are but an empty breath. Happy are those whom you discipline, O Lord, and whom you teach out of your law, giving them respite from days of trouble, until a pit is dug for the wicked. For the Lord will not forsake his people, he will not abandon his heritage. For justice will return to the righteous, and all the upright in heart will follow it. Who rises up for me against the wicked? Who stands up for me against evildoers? If the Lord had not been my help, my soul would soon have lived in the land of silence. When I thought my foot is slipping, your steadfast love, O Lord, held me up. When the cares of my heart are many, your consolations cheer my soul. Can wicked rulers be allied with you, those who contrive mischief by statute? They band together against the life of the righteous and condemn the innocent to death. But the Lord has become my stronghold and my God, the rock of my refuge. He will repay them for their iniquity and wipe them out for their wickedness. The Lord our God will wipe them out.